Okay, let's try this again. The first video I made of this didn't work. Anyway, as a change of pace, we'll check out this game. I played this for a little bit ages ago. And, yeah, made some engines. We'll just have a quick look at the challenges I've done. As you can see, I haven't done a great deal here, and I've done a bit more here. As I'm a car enthusiast and a hobbyist engineer, I suppose. This stuff was real easy at the top. C3 down gets very difficult, and there's a few that I like near impossible. I'm not saying they're impossible, I'm saying they're probably close to it. God knows I've tried every possible combination I could think of and still haven't been able to do those two. But I'll get into them at another time. We just get back out of that, have a look in the sandbox, and I've made a few. And this one replicates a K20 or a K24, probably a K20. That's assuming the K20 is a 2 litre or 1.8 litre. Anyway, and that's a big turbo variant of that one, basically. That one went around the automation test track at 2 minutes and 3 seconds. That one was 2 minutes and 4 seconds. That one was 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and this one was 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So we'll check this one out. Yeah, I forgot. Might have to trim this one down a bit. Hold on. Okay, we're back, and no warnings on this car. There's plenty of warnings on the other ones because it's the other ones are like way out there. Anyway, we'll have a quick squeeze at the car. Oops. Pretty basic stuff. This is an old automation game, as you probably saw in the bottom left hand corner. Just quickly go back and have a look for you. Yeah, this is build v190321. Sub variant, I suppose, is 1835. So not the latest. When I loaded up this game, a new release was just made, so the next variant of this that I'll show you, just to show you, is now outdated. Just keep in mind this game is also running without mods. No mods of any kind or add-ons. So, yeah. And my computer is really slow, so you'll have to bear with me. Since I already loaded up, it was quicker this time around. Anyway, as we saw, the car, pretty stock standard, pretty much everything. I know it probably doesn't look much like a Civic, particularly without headlights, because it's all real curvy around here, but it's what we've got to deal with. I wanted something fairly modernish. Anyway, let's do a test track. As you can see, this one, hold on. sound better for you guys. It'll sound better if I turn down my audio. I don't really need to hear it. I should use the headphones, but this car is nothing to rave on about. But as you can see, it's pretty slow. Sorry about my chair squeaking. But as you can see, we've also got 36 kilos of lift at the front and 33 kilos of lift at the rear, with a rolling angle of 7.4 degrees, or cornering angle of 7.4 degrees, which is pretty high. You kind of want to get that down as low as possible. And that's mainly for gripping to the road. Also helps in drifting too, since you don't want the car to roll while drifting. You want the car to shift the G-forces more than you want the car to roll. As you can tell, this is a 19-second car on a quarter mile. Hey Dom, got you a car. Is it a 10-second car? You owe me a 10-second car, not a 10-minute car. Okay, as you can see, it made it in almost 2 minutes and 51 seconds almost. So we'll go quickly look at the build. If I put it in a bigger, heavier car, it would take even longer. Of course, there are also lighter cars as well, but we want a good comparison. Would a Honda Civic do 19s in the quarter mile stock? Probably. Alright, we'll go have a look at the engine. Pretty stock looking stuff. It's an inline 4 aluminium, just to match up with the actual engine. The quality is also set at 0, so no extra quality. The bore is 83 millimeters and stroke is 83 millimeters, making a 1.8 litre engine. Dual overhead cam with 4 valves per cylinder. An aluminium head with no valve lift, variable valve lift. Moving on, we've got cast everything, because that's pretty much what most engines come from factory alike. We don't worry about the variant capacity. As you can see, the quality is at 0. I tried to make it as close to the real engine as possible, so cam profile 40, a little bit on the sporty side, but that's just because I like round numbers. I think it would be better off at 36, 35. And the compression 10.7, which is pretty much standard. No turbo. Fuel system 14.2, which is a little rich. It's also on regular 91. I think I had to make it a little bit rich because of the fuel that was being used, but that's fine. We've got direct injection on per cylinder rather than single, because that's pretty stupid having the option of single, because direct injection has the injector in the cylinder itself, so that's bizarre that that would allow a single or twin configuration. Otherwise it's just a single point EFI or multi-point EFI. Standard intake, all that sort of stuff. Ignition timing, rather average. I probably could retard it a bit, but probably lose quite a bit of power. And set the RPM limit due to the pistons and conrods only going to 7100 RPMs. The 0% is the problemicity of the car, or the chances of problems arising. So there's no chances of problems arising, which is good. As you can see, we've got the dyno graph there. Probably not accurate. Well, I wouldn't call it accurate. Not overly accurate anyway. And then we've got an exhaust, which is just enough to create a good flow. Two-way, baffled, no bypass valve, short cast, all that sort of jazz. Basically how one would expect a stock factory engine to be made. As you can tell, the headers are restrictive and the exhaust is restrictive, but that's also fairly normal. Most cars are detuned and restricted from factory, so that gives you a lot of play with various things. In the real world, that's due to increasing reliability and fuel efficiency and all that sort of jazz, just to reach a very specific criteria. Many cars do it on their Holden Commodores from the pretty much any of the Commodores that had the GM 3800 engine, which is the 3.8 litre V6, 90 degree V6. Can't remember when they started putting it into the Commodores, but I think it's VR, VS, VT, VX, VY. They all had that engine, as well as the VU. There was an optional 5 litre 302, I think it is, and the 5.3 litre LS1, but I'm not worried about them. They're also restricted to some degree or another. Each model of car had a slightly modified engine to be more improved over the more restricted variants. It happens with all cars, like the Toyotas, you name it, you name it. So we'll give this a run, automatic. As you can tell, it doesn't sound all that great. It sounds like how a Honda Civic would sound like. But it is pretty quick nonetheless. Well, for a stock engine anyway. It gets right up in the RPMs. I wouldn't say it's super quick, but I have seen slower. Okay, we'll come back. I'll just reload the game before we get back into it, so I can use the headphones and give you a better commentary of what's happening. Because the next ones you'll hear turbo noises and cornering noises. This one you heard a lot of cornering noises because of the fairly large roll angle of the car. At 7.4 degrees it would create a lot of road noise from the tyres. So we'll get back to it in a bit. Okay, we're back. I've got everything set up properly this time, I think. So we'll have a look at this other one, which is much improved over this variant. We'll have a look at the car. As you can see, there's quite a bit of difference. Huge camber, the tyres clipping the fenders and all that jazz. It's quite hilarious, but I couldn't get it all the way I wanted, so I ended up sticking with that. Not a lot of aero, but a lot of tuning to change the lift and that sort of jazz. So we'll have a quick squiz here. As you know, the other one did 2 minutes and 50, well, close to 51 seconds. So we'll see how this one does. There's a lot of tuning that went into this one. Suspension, to make sure the suspension was set right. Probably looking at hours and hours and hours of tuning just for the suspension, just everything to do with the car body itself. Even the brakes took a long time, because when you modify one variable, all the other variables kind of have to adjust as well. So it was a long time, but I got it to this point, so we'll see what it's like. I think when I first started designing it, it took like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or even 5 minutes even. So it took me a long time to get it to this point. Here you can hear the rowdiness of the engine and the turbo that spools up at a particular point. Like, you can barely hear the road noise over the top of the turbo. But this one has a rolling angle of 0.9 degrees, so it will handle the corners a lot better. And as you can see, this one's significantly better from the 19 section quarter mile to 17 second quarter miles. Might as well be 18, but the other one was pretty close to 20%. And this one has, instead of 36 kilos of lift, it's got 23 kilos of downforce. That was pretty important. And it's got a bit less G-force in the corners due to the difference in rolling angle. But I also set these cars up so that way it can reach the maximum speed it possibly can on this track as well. Hence why it may not be as fast on the quarter mile as it possibly could be, because we're doing street tuning, not drag race tuning. Damn, that turbo's loud. And you can hear that the engine is crackling and having exhaust fire in it. So, as you can tell, it's very noisy. The turbo is probably bigger than what the engine needs or can deal with, but we'll quickly go through the engine specs. As you can see, we've got a sharp turn up when the turbo kicks in, but the engine's pretty much the same all the way through. Actually, we've got billet steel, lightweight titanium, lightweight forged, and the quality I set to 15 plus on everything, including the body. We've got a 10.2 compression ratio, which I don't think I changed. I might have for the fuel, because it might have been 10.7 before, but when we adjusted the turbos for fuel, I spent probably a good hour just on the engine alone, probably a good 4 hours on the body, just tuning it to damn near perfection. The cam profile's at 100. I mean, we could make more, I could retune it to make a lot of power at a low cam profile, but it won't be as much as this. And as you can see, we've got a pretty big turbo. This would be, I think I'll put this on race turbo, which I intend to do. So it's probably close to or equivalent to GTX 25 or 30 with a huge AR ratio, which is the turbine and the ratio of the turbine to the turbine housing. In this case, I believe we're making 26.5 psi boost. All that's the same except the intake's raised, and we're on ultimate fuel with a fuel mixture of 10, which is the richest you can go. Ignition timing of 10, RPM limit, which is set due to the RPM stress on the pistons and con rods. So I didn't want to introduce any potential failures, even if it's 1%, which you'll notice through all my cars that I've tuned everything that way. I could get it up to like probably close to 800 kilowatts if I allowed up to 10% failure, potential for failure or stress. And bypass valves, which is kind of useless, but the game gives you a boost in power anyway. I say it's useless because there's no catalytic converter, no mufflers, so it kind of just dumps it, kind of thing. Got a nice big exhaust, and do an automatic testing here, which does a gradual increase. And it's normal for the compressor and turbine to max out after the peak power. You want that towards the end of the RPM as much as possible, so that way you're not sacrificing potential power being made. Like I said, I can go much more if I adjust these values, but you get the compressor restriction and turbine restriction starts to increase quite a bit as well. So this is a good amount of power for this kind of car. It's probably close to 550 horsepower for those that prefer horsepower. I'm in Australia, so I use the metric variants. And we'll do some manual testing just to check the speed of it. So if we go flat foot from get-go, it increases quite a bit faster. It doesn't sound all that great, but it's a Honda. What do you expect? We'll see where the noise gains the most. And that's when the turbo is fully spooled up. Peak power, peak torque is about there, so yeah. So that's that one. And I'll come back in a bit and show you the rest. Okay, the next one I'll show you is this one. And as you can see, we've got some big error on this one. I couldn't get the fenders to pop out because I was still pretty inexperienced in the body modification of Beam NG, but as you can see, I eventually did sort of figure it out with this one. I didn't do it with that one either, but I just threw it on. I threw this car in a body and just lifted it, I think. And so we'll have a quick look at this one. So it's not a real good comparison because I haven't tuned the next car properly, I don't think. But it still gets the job done. Like this one, we'll put this in the test. As you may or may not have seen, this one makes about 880 kilowatt of power, which is about 150 horsepower. And it has a much top speed at 430 kilometers and does the quarter mile in 11 seconds. Has a 1.3 degree rolling angle and next to no downforce. At least it's got no lift. Well, that was quite noisy. But it's a V12, this one. And then you can see that I did it in a lot quicker. Would be a lot quicker if I could tune it for a drag strip, but we've only got two choices. So, but this one does it pretty well. I think this one I tuned the body quite a bit. Probably not as much as the Honda Civic. But as you can see, it makes 886 horsepower at 9,000 RPMs. Higher the RPMs, the more boost you can possibly get. But yeah, it's not bad. Go over to the engine. As you can see, it's a V60 degrees 12, aluminium, dual overhead cams, a bore of 81 millimeters and a stroke of 80.8 millimeters. Again, all metric. But it's a 5-liter V12 mimicking the 1GZ, which are sort of like two JZs put together kind of thing. We've got dual overhead cam at 4 valves. Not very often you see 5 valves, but that's fine. A lot of reasons for that, but I won't get into that. Aluminium head, no variable valve lift. Billet steel, lightweight titanium, lightweight forged, quality 15 plus across the board. 11.9 compression, cam profile of 100, variable valve timing on all cams. A fairly big turbo, like a GTX 3035. Ball bearing, 11.1 psi, and you probably can see that I could make more power if I, just because I'm sure people want to see it, but you get loads of knocking and all sorts of other issues, so I'll bring it back down. Well, that wasn't really a lot more power because that's 98 kilowatts, but you see what I mean. This game is pretty much a stickler for problematic engines, basically. Because everything's so tuned all together, not one piece at a time. And that's the only real way you can make a lot of power with this game. I'll go through the process one day, if not today. Direct injection per cylinder, otherwise it's useless. Race 100, fuel mixture 11.1, 100% ignition timing. High RPM limit because of the short stroke. You can get a nice high RPM on the pistons and conrods. The crank can go higher, but that's neither here nor there. Dual exhaust, so it can shrink the exhaust diameter a bit, but we've still got nice big 88.9, which is like probably close to 3.5 inch. Bypass valves, which is kind of useless because it just dumps. Catalytic converters, none, no mufflers, yada yada yada, and all the other details that you want to know. Have a look at the engine. It's a nice big engine with a blower valve on, I assume it's a blower valve on the compressor, but no wastegate on the turbine, which is a bit of a bummer. Still not bad. We'll do an automatic test. Nice exhaust firing. As you can see, the turbine and the compressor starts to become more restricted and more through the RPMs we go. But luckily it's after maximum amount of boost is achieved and power. Like I said, I could get a lot more kilowatt power out of it if I accept some reliability issues. Do some manual. Sounds pretty beastly, doesn't it? Okay, we'll go flat stick from get-go. Not bad. And this is where the maximum, where the turbo starts to spool up, right here. Of course it doesn't sound like a V8 because it's a V12, but yeah. Okay, next one. This is one where I built because people were having difficulties making a lot of power even with the biggest possible engine they could make. So this is a 12-litre 12-cylinder. It's a shame this game doesn't have superchargers, because superchargers generally generate boost at the lower RPMs, whereas turbos generates boost at the higher RPMs. Hence why I tend to keep the stroke a bit lower, because the lower the stroke, the higher the RPM you can go. As you can see, it develops 2,163 kilowatts power, which is around 2,250 horsepower, give or take a lot. But we'll put it around the track. As you can see, last time we did it in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Sometimes the lower the power you got, the better you can get around the track. Not in the case of the Honda Civic. I did try though, but this is quite a long track. Doesn't tell you how long the track is though, anywhere that I can see. Oh, we'll try it out anyway. As you can see, this has a rolling angle of 1.5 degrees. It's also got a much higher speed limit. And it can actually reach close to 590 on this track too. So keep an eye on the kilometer, this read is showing up here. But this can also, instead of doing it in the quarter mile in 13 seconds, this one does it in 11 seconds. The other one probably did it close to 11 seconds as well. Yeah, it's got a lot more G-forces in the corner, but the way the car's set up, it's still got 13 kilos of downforce, 14 kilos of downforce in the rear. This one just tells you the braking distance from 100 to 0k. Again, all metric. Not bad, eh? 2 minutes and 3 seconds instead of 2 minutes 40. The other one would have done it in 13 seconds, I think. No, it was 17 seconds instead of 19, wasn't it? I could improve the gearing so that way it could potentially go faster in the quarter mile, but it would sit on the rev limit all the way around, almost all the way around this track if I did that. So like I said, the gearing and the setup of the car is tuned to this particular track and to some degree of drivability. So you could drive this car around the city kind of thing. Took a long time to get to these values. A lot of testing, tuning, yada yada yada. Like the final drive for this is, doesn't tell you here, does it? Got electric LSD. You probably should use the geared, but nah. Yeah, it doesn't help with the final gearing. But yeah, you can change the spacing so it works better in some corners and better at top speeds and stuff like that. Did not really tune this at all. Oh, it doesn't look like it, but I did. It's just, yeah, the game gives you a lot of issues if you try to change the ride height too much. Like, I can't even lower the ride height any more than what it is at the moment, so kind of a pain. No massive camber or anything like that, so anyway, that was that one. So there you go. So that's the maximum amount of power I could make out of this game. 2,163 kilowatts. But what I might do is I might just quickly create a new car and show you how some of the tuning's done. Thank God this loaded up quickly. We'll just choose a small sports type car. I think this one will do. It's kind of annoying, you can't just go straight into the engine, but it's fine. We'll go carbon fiber. We'll go with a semi-space frame. Aluminium, that's fine. Yeah, we'll go front longitudinal. We don't want transverse, that's more like front wheel drive, that's like wheel wheel drive. But you can get all wheel drive in both of those. Yeah, we'll go with the double wishbone. We'll go push rod on the rear. It saves a bit of weight. I won't worry about the quality settings. Now we get to the engines. So what do we want to make? I'm sure people are screaming at a V8, a 90-degree V8. The material for the engine doesn't really matter, so you might just go LS style or LT style, LT7 style maybe. Direct acting OHC. Yeah, that's reminiscent of a lot of V8s. Yeah, 2 valves per cylinder, whereas push rod, yeah, same. Yeah, you can get more with overhead cams. Yeah. And we'll go an aluminium head. For the sake of power, even though most of the V8s don't have it, is variable valve lift. No, we won't worry about it. Oh, okay. I forgot about this. Engine size. Well, let's max out the bore. No. Then shrink the stroke. It's a good way to size the engine. Make it just big enough to fit in a rear-wheel drive car, I think. Yeah, that will work as long as it's just untick those. but for the sake of having a high RPM, we can just shrink this down a little bit. I think we go 80 millimeters. Which is like, yeah, pretty close to 5.7 liters. Well, that's 5.7 liters there, so. Okay. We'll be happy with that, I think. That's like a iron block LT, probably close to an LT7, something like that. Ooh. Okay, we'll go the billet steel flat plane, which is the crankshaft. Lightweight titanium, lightweight forged. Don't worry about the quality setting. Compression. Well, we won't worry about the compression. We'll do that in the tuning process. We don't want VVT. Most V8s don't have it. Or most V8s people use don't have it. Put on a turbo. Go custom. Yeah, don't get much in the way of that, but we'll go ball bearing. Okay, injection. I think most V8s multi-point EFI per cylinder. Race, fuel type, that one. Timing all the way up. RPM limit, we set it to, well, when it comes up. Oh no, it won't come up just yet. So I'll leave the RPM for now. Dual exhaust, bypass valves, none, none, and none. Of course, this is just very basic timing. So we can set the RPM to 9,700. So let's go do that. Of course, we've got valve float. We could go up to 9,900, but we don't want to introduce too many problems. For those that do, you can do whatever. We'll start off by putting the fuel mixture all the way up like so. Yeah, that's pretty typical. So, okay, that's the lowest I can go. And go back to here. Current octane is 86.5, so we'll just boost it up. So it's right about there, 99.7, which is good. Come back here. Yeah, this is the difficult part. But we can start off by doing that and that, because now it's saying that the AFR is too rich. So you go back here and knock it down. Max AFR is 12.2, so we'll set it to here, but we've got valve float. Which generally means that the springs and the heads are too soft, usually, but we'll just have to sort of tune that out kind of thing. We can knock this all the way down. Okay, maybe not. We'll knock it all the way up. Still too rich. We'll leave the PSI around there. Just take it to 8. And this is where it really starts having problems, because we need to increase this until we stop making power. Okay, stop making power. Okay, leave that. RPM limit. I think we don't need to worry too much about the RPM limit at the moment. There's just too much pressure. So I go to the exhaust, increase the exhaust until we make no more power. Oh, it's starting to go down, so we'll leave it there. Okay, reduce the fuel mixture until we start making no more power. Oh. Oh. Knock that down one more. Go back here. Change the compression a little bit. Now keep changing it down until we got, oh no, that's that. Doesn't hurt to change it down a little bit more, because we're going to have to change it up and down in relation to the turbo anyway. Yep, we can make more power now. But this is how the process goes. Reduce the fuel mixture and keep doing this until no more power is being made. You basically just end up doing this repeatedly. And what I'm doing is, when I reach peak power, just knock it down one more peg, then go to the side and see if it increases, knock it down a peg, see if it increases, knock it down a peg, see if it increases. If it doesn't and it decreases, go back to the other one and tweak this one. This will give us a lot more room when we do start tweaking the turbo. Can we reach 500? Nah, it looks like that's about where we're at. Yep. So we adjust the exhaust diameter. No, makes no difference. No. Okay, that made a slight difference. Trying to think. Yes. This one? Yep. Okay. Stops making power, knock it down a bit, and right there is fine. And I'm sure you guys are eager to hear this, where it's at the moment, so... no, because the valve float, no. There you go, the engine failed for you. Okay, so now we've got to try and deal with a valve float by reducing everything, basically. Okay, we start off by reducing the AFR. Not the AFR, the AR ratio. Until we stop making power. Do we need to go up here? Nope. Down here? Nope. Okay, we'll put it on the, go down the lowest you can till you start losing power, then bump it up back to where you made the most power. Then increase the PSI. Nope. Decrease it. Okay. Decrease it. Increase that. Nope. That's interesting. Just knock it back up a bit. We should be able to deal with the valve float once we set up the turbo. Now we start working on the turbine. Knock it down until it stops making power. Take it to the lowest. Oh, it's gone up again. Keep going down until the power rating's gone down again. Don't worry about the torque. The red line's the torque, the blue line's the power. Just keep knocking it down until we start going below 561 now. There we go. Knock it up, back up one. Adjust the AFR in one direction or the other, see if it makes any difference. Adjust the PSI, no. Nope. Okay, I think we can, oh no, increase that a little, no. Okay, we can increase the compressor now. Decrease the compressor until it's, just keep going until it starts going down massively. Yeah, we'll stick at 6.4. That will give us some breathing space. Let's see if the exhaust helps. Nope. Fuel system. Can we bump that up? Nope. Can we reduce it? Not so much. Compression. Nope. Might have to lower the compression a bit. Going back here, adjust. I saw improvements in the torque. The lower down in the RPMs that the torque goes, the better. And just the AFR ratio. Boost. Okay, now we can boost it. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a bit of power to start boosting. No. Okay, reduce the compressor a little bit. Nope. Keep it there. Turbine. Not so much. Compression ratio. Fuel system. Well, it says max AFR is 12.2, so we'll set it to 12.2. Then top end and go. Let's increase the octane rating there, so we'll reduce it and see if we can get. Okay, put that back up there. That's not really going one way or the other, so just knock it up, back up one. Yeah, I think that's about as far as it wants to go, to be honest. So we can reduce the RPM limit. To about there. I know, it's not all that miraculous, is it? Exhaust is a little too small, so increase it one more, like so, and give it a listen to. Well, there's a little bit of knocking, so we'll go here. Yeah, it's not something to worry about too much. Yeah, I think we can rework it. We've got a base to work with now, so we can drop that AFR right down, because you'll find that when you're working with the AR ratio that there's periods where it goes up and down kind of thing in between. It goes up then down, then up then down. So you've got to find the right AR ratio that works. So we'll just keep increasing AFR until the power stops. Okay, I think we had it perfect the first time. Okay, if you want to increase boost, do so. I mean, you can go all the way up there like that if you want. It's like, but you have to adjust the AFR, all this jazz. It's not going to give you a proper reading until you do. 130. So we'll reduce the compression right down. Okay, we'll leave it right there. 689. There we go. Starting to make proper power now. Okay. Keep tweaking. It stopped a while ago, so I dial it back. Okay, this is increasing. No, not anymore. Okay, increase the intercooler. Exhaust. It's probably a little restrictive on the exhaust. Oh, the compressor's way off. Turbine's a little bit too big too. So the compressor's being limiting our flow. So do we dial that down or up? Up by the looks of it. How's it now? 0.8. Okay, keep going. It's going to make a lot of sudden power though. Turbine's a little small too. going. 1. Excellent. Increase the compressor. .6. Oops. Increase 9.9. Keep increasing compressor. And we can't increase it any more than that. Okay, that's 1. Yeah. Can we? No, that's fine. So we can increase the compression. Nice. Increase the fuel mixture until there. Of course, one would think we're done now, but we're not. Just make sure nothing else needs to be tuned. Always take things one above or one below. Oh, current octane's right down. Okay, we can boost that and we'll get more power. Can we increase the turbine a little? Yeah, pull back the torque a little bit. Can we increase this? Yes, we can. Everything's still green. Exhaust is a little small. Turbine's a little small. Okay, come back here. Increase the turbine. That should be value 1 all the way across. And yeah, I think that's about as close as we're going to get to it. That's a reasonable value. That's a reasonable power for a V8 this size. For such a small turbine. Well, it's not that small, to be honest. A little increase in power there. Everything's all good. Give it a test. And that's pretty much perfect. I mean, you can try and make more power and boost. Well, we can't make any more boost because we're at max. So now we can reduce the boost until we stop making power. There's no point in maxing out the boost if you're not going to make any more power. Oh. And there you have it. 26 psi of boost is what it's capable of. We can go a little bit more now. A little bit there. Yeah. Yeah, that's about as fine-tuned as I think I'm going to get for now. Of course, you can make more power by increasing the quality settings, but like I said, this is very reasonable. Let's just have a look at the RPM limit. Can we set it higher? No, because we get valve float, because the top end in this section is aluminium. Yeah, get the same amount of RPM and whatnot. If we went that one, doesn't seem to change anything really. Not in max RPM or anything like that. I mean, we could go dual overhead cams and all that jazz. Yeah. The limiting factor is the cams. But like I said, that's pretty reasonable, pretty decent. Yeah, that's it idling. Sounds pretty gnarly. Nice and lumpy. That's more than enough power to get around the shopping centre. Okay, on to the next bit. Now we'll just stick with this. Looks pretty flat. Drivetrain. We'll go sequential and 7 gears. No wheel spin in any of those. I will increase the top speed, which changes the final drive. Which the final drives on this is ridiculous. I mean, and a practical application is 4.11. But we don't want to make it too much, so yeah, 3.6 is doable. 3.55 will do. We'll keep this spacing as is, I think. Oh, right, got to set up everything else. We'll use a geared LSD, because that's pretty typical. I won't see anything on the graphs yet. 335 on the rear is perfectly fine, but we want radial, do we? Crossply. And we'll go semi-slicks. Well, we can put a bit more poke into that. But we're at 155, so we want 175 on the rear. And 135 on the front will do. So that's increased it quite significantly. We'll put a bit more offset on the rear, just to give it that little bit more poke. Oh, that's the maximum offset. Okay, nice. It just gives you a little bit more drivability, I reckon. We'll use alloy or magnesium. We'll use alloy. Front brakes we use vented, and we'll use 2 piston. We'll increase it to 250, 280, 280, and use solid on the rear, 2 single piston. We'll make it 200. And we'll just increase the pad type to, like, that'll do. Won't worry about the brake bias to set. Under tray, none. Oh, we could put it to downforce like CU. Yeah, that's just off-road, isn't it? Won't worry about anything like that. We won't worry about active aero, because it's good to have an under tray because it improves the airflow under the car. If you have too many gaps under the car, it will the air won't flow nicely, so we'll just leave everything else the way it is because we don't have any wings on it. It's a coupe, so we'll make it a 2-seater. Interior, we'll just set it to basic and none. We'll just set it to hydraulic. Traction control aids, none for now. Safety, none. Springs, we'll go with some progressive. We'll go gas monotube. Sway bars, we'll set it to passive. And now we get all this other stuff. So we can go all the way back here. Oh, look at that, loads of wheel spin. Well, just to see what all these values are, probably go bigger rear brakes. Yeah, just increase that a little bit, just to start off with. You want it to overlap just a little bit more. That should do. Brake fade, sportiness. Yeah, 37 meters. Yeah, keep increasing it a little bit more because it's got a downward slope to it, so we'll want to match it to this section here, or as close to as possible. That might do it. I mustn't have set the RPM limit up just right. That's fine. Okay, now we get valve flow. That's weird. Yeah. Like I said, it's hardly perfect. Now we'll go back to the brakes. That looks pretty good, so we'll increase the front ones. The rear one's a 330, so the front ones probably should be 350. Okay, that will be a good start. Even though it's probably not the right sizing, but that's fine. We don't want to make the brakes too stiff. Interior, driver aids, work on suspension a bit. Because I want to reduce the ride height as much as possible. Because at the moment it's got a roll angle of 3.88 degrees. So we'll reduce that right down. And of course we're going to have an error here. No. Yeah, no shit, they're supposed to be hard. Okay, now we want to deal with this stuff. We want to boost it all the way up to here. Considering we're making a sports only vehicle, so we want to increase. We're doing the front first, so that's fine. Probably should do the dampeners first. Yeah, that's good. Now we increase the springs, which reduces the dampeners, but we'll increase the dampeners again. It's not going to be a comfortable ride, I can tell you that. And yes, it's pretty normal to have a race car that's vibrating viciously. Yep, that's pretty much spot on. Do the real ones. Corner angle is 0.8 now. It's the front ones that, it's the front suspension that introduces the most cornering angle, roll angle. And doing all this, you're increasing the maximum load capacity as well, which can be a good thing. Depends on how much your load is. One more maybe. Probably a bit too much there, so work on the springs again. And I'll show you the difference between custom tuned by yourself versus what the car can, what the game can generate for you. So now we're down to 0.6 roll angle. So bottom out, so not even bottoming out yet, which is good. The lower the car, the less roll angle you'll have too. So if we increase that, you can see the roll angle go right up. Yeah, I'll only get to a max of 2.2 at the moment because the suspension's so stiff. We can leave the camber on the rear like that, but we'll put a bit of camber on the front, a bit of negative camber. Put it at about 1. Should improve the handling a little bit. Everything's looking good. Because once these 2 points go way past those blue and red lines, it's, yeah, not going to be drivable. As you can see, it's only a few considerations popping up. Nothing red like the top one, which is wheel spin. Interior brakes, they look good. Probably increase it to 2 pistons, which will stiffen up the rear quite a lot, so I can reduce the size of the brake pads, size of the brake disc. Because normally in real life cars, your brake disc on the rear will be much smaller than the one on the front. So that's all we're just aiming for, something more realistic. Brake pads, yeah, well, you can deal with that. Just don't worry about the brake bias unless you max out all these other values, then you worry about the brake bias. Drivetrain, well, the red line must be there, so there we go. Top speed 445, so we're looking at 372. Okay, it's not improving much. Yeah, I believe that's like the red line, like your maximum engine capacity kind of thing, and these are all your gearings. But we'll probably have to, because the wheel spin is like mad. Increase the spacing. Final drive is 3.65. Yeah, I got pretty close to it, eh? Is it increasing or oh, it's increasing the wheel spin. So keep decreasing the spacing. And that's more acceptable. Yeah, that's probably the best you're going to get. Although a drag car will most likely have more than that. Less than that, like 2 or 3 ratios most of the time. But everything looks pretty good, except here. It looks pretty horrible, but yeah. When you're trying to reduce the wheel spin, it's on a powerful car, it's not going to help too much. That will help. Yeah, the electric LSD will do fine, I think. It'll do better. Anyway, you don't want to leave it open. Still a lot of wheel spin there too. Okay, we'll go advanced automatic. And if we go to 4 gear ratios, we should be able to increase the top speed to yeah, that's much better. Oh yeah, that's going to start hampering our ability to get from 0 to 100 k's, and that's like, yeah. So I might have to go back to 365, 15 seconds, 13. Jesus. I think the best way to do that is, it's the wheel spin in second gear. That's the problem. It shouldn't be like that. It should be reducing wheel spin in the more gears you go down, like that. And that's probably the most acceptable there. So we can change the spacing quite a bit now. Go back to 50. No. Again, it's massive in second gear. Jeez. Somewhat acceptable. Yeah, 236. Well, I'll show you what happens though. Because it can reach 236 easy. And it'll pretty much sit on there. A lot of crackling. It's nice. There we go. Here's where the problem's going to be. Fifth gear. 260, 270. So it went to 271. Not a bad time. 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Still better than the Honda Civic, but yeah, that's what that does. And if we do this, and we'll have a look. 118. Quarter mile, like. See, just changing up and down the gears too much. Yeah, it's sitting on the rev limit at 8 in 8th gear, 8th gear. Still sitting on the rev limit. It's going to be well and truly over 3 minutes. Got a bit of lift as well, so we can put a bit of aero on there and probably get up to 50 kilos ish. That should help improve a lot, because the problem is with the wheel spin, and it's because the car is generating a lot of lift. Well, 8 kilos and 6 kilos isn't a lot of lift, but it's enough to be problematic. So. But I'll adjust the gearing just to be sure. I'd rather 8 kilo downforce and 6 kilo downforce than that. Any kind of lift is bad. And there you go, a V8 that barely outruns a tuned Civic. Anyway, increase the top speed to 365, wasn't it, for the final drive ratio. Oh, 394 looks good. That looks pretty good too. 354, there you go. Wheel spin is pretty bad. But if we take it up to 50, yeah, second gear is like pretty bad still. I think we can go up a little more there. Yeah, once this value stops changing then, or goes down, then you can start reducing the top speed, basically. 372. Of course, you don't get this sort of thing in real life, so you just have to sort of play it by ear. Not that you have adjustable ratios in your gear setup, except for the final drive. 379, what's that? Yeah, it's going to start. Yeah, it's not going to get any higher than that, so we'll pull it back 2, and that should be fine. Yeah, 381, 382, that will be fine. Wheel spin, yeah, so that's 374, which is not a bad gearing ratio. Yeah, gonna have problems with wheel spin all round. That's more, that's a little bit better, not by much though. So we just set the space 70 to 50, and driver aids and safety. Yeah, we'll put that in because it's launch control and all that sort of jazz. Doesn't make a great deal of difference here. Just to be sure, yeah, no. Now I can leave it there, or even take it up one more. Even though it's in the 12-second range, it'll still get around this track pretty quick. We'll do a demo first, then we'll deal with the downforce. So not changing the gears through the corner, which is good. It's all looking pretty good. It's these 2 long straights that are a big thing. The slingshot as well. It's normal to go down a gear, maybe 2 gears during the slingshot, but still should be able to go through it without any problems, without even slowing down. It's braking a little bit. As you can tell from the splits, it's much faster. And to be honest, those final drive ratios are pretty ridiculous. To be able to go all the way up to 8 to 1, I mean, come on. The most typical I see is 2.78 all the way up to 4.11. So I don't know why this game has so many gear final drive ratios. They call it top speed, but there you go, 2 minutes and 9 seconds. That's the fastest we've managed so far. So as you can see, the gearing is pretty important, particularly to get around a track like this. Of course, this is tuned to this particular track, so if we want to run the airfield, we have to change all the gearing again, just to get the fastest lap, basically. But we can do better than 209. And we're going to show you how. Yeah, it's through aerodynamics. Not so much cooling flaps or anything like that. Front wing angle and rear wing angle. Better open these 2 up. We need to, we can add downforce here, but it does practically nothing without any arrows. Oh, look at that, we've gone up. So what we'll do is go back to wherever it was. Fixtures, no. Wheels, brakes, arrow. Oh, there we go. Just max it out because it was at 0 before. And we've got a huge amount of downforce, which you don't really want. But does it change anything here? Not really. It does change this. So there's quite a bit of downforce there. So we'll have a look at how that goes, because that will reduce the wheel spin if it's made correctly. So, which means we probably could get rid of the features we put on the electronic stability control and the launch control. But those two things, the stability control and the launch control, will help getting off the line. But the downforce will help to maintain proper grip to the road while at speed, like over 100 k's or even 200 k's for that matter. Which means you won't be wheel spinning at like 200 k's, which was pretty ridiculous. And we're over 200 k's, 2, 6, 6, 7, 1, 8. I saw 86, 286 as the maximum speed it managed, instead of 271. And the thing that annoys me about this game is that you can't put a bigger turbo than what the game specifies on a smaller engine. I know people that put like Garrett GT 45s on a Honda Civic kind of thing, or a Lancer. Mind you, they had a fully built engine as well, but yeah. Didn't change as much as I would have hoped. But if we go back here, no, I won't do that. I showed you how to tune everything now, so you should be able to get some pretty good setups. I mean, I've had, it's clipping through the fender there. Oh well. So yeah, you should be able to tune everything quite nicely now. What I'm going to do is just quickly, no, that doesn't change anything there. No, not really. Yeah, this is about the only thing that has presets. But anyway, I'll show you the difference between a tuned and your own tuned. Front spring can go up a bit more, probably. Yeah, no, that's fine now. Tuning itself, and I'll show you the difference between tuning itself. So we've already tuned it ourselves for racing, so we'll use the in-game racing setting, which is not quite as good, but we'll see how well it does. Oh, that's the other thing, I didn't increase the sway bars either. Oh well, there's more camber front and rear as well, so well, have a look with that. I mean, you can do the same. There's presets on the turbos which you can do, but that will reduce power as well. Give it a quick test and just use the multiplier just to speed things up. Can't even calculate the RPMs. Okay, I did it quicker than my own tune setup. Well, my tune was probably a bit more aggressive. They normal, comfort, off-road. No, they're not really changing the sway bar settings, but that's fine. That's pretty close to how I had it set up anyway. But the ride height's increased now. So yeah, as you can see, there's a lot to this tuning business. So we'll just get out of that. And we'll load up the new version and see if there's anything changed. We'll tune another car as well. I might do a V60 V8, since I'm sure you guys will want to see another V8, a better V8, more power, etc., etc. So we'll be back.